Good morning, everyone. I'm Michael. I'm going to be your host for around about the next 45 minutes. Today, we're looking at one of our sessions for the Report Designer 2025 badge that we're running at the moment. We will be repeating the sessions next month as well, just in case you don't have a chance to attend any of the sessions this month. So plenty of scope to attend them, or even come back and maybe watch the session again if you want to start developing your knowledge a little bit more. So session 2 today, we're looking at personalizing your invoices. We'll be concentrating on an invoice today. You can apply the same sort of things that we're looking at today. You will be able to apply those to other layouts, such as customer statements, remittances, sales orders, purchase orders. You might have a specific credit note layout that you use, but any layout or reports for that matter. But we're looking at the sort of the basic design size, so personalizing them a little bit. So things like adding your logo, that type of thing. So it should take us about 45 minutes to run through that this morning. Right, now before we get started, we'll quickly run through a little bit of housekeeping for you. So as normal for these sessions, you do not need a microphone. If you've got one and you have enabled it, it will be muted automatically. You can't unmute yourself during the session. So any questions that you have for myself or the team that are on hand today to support you, you'll need to click the little speech bubble icon, which is on your toolbar down the right-hand side. Give it a click, it'll expand the panel, and you'll get access to that box in the bottom right-hand corner. And that's where you can submit any comments or questions that you might have. Today, we've got Abby, Matt, and Tina all on hand to help answer those questions. We've got loads of you logged in, so we are expecting it to be busy, probably with the questions as well. So do bear with us. We'll try and answer as many as we can. We might run a few little extra demos here and there, just in case anyone's not sure about anything, but we will prioritize the questions relating to what we're covering today. So we normally get, as soon as we mention reports, we'll get, well, which report do I run for this and what should I run for that? We're looking at personalizing your layouts today. There is a copy of the handout if anyone wants that. So a copy of the slides, you can download that during the session. Link will be included to the handout on the follow-up email as well. Now that follow-up email will be with you in around about an hour after we finish. That will include a link to today's recording, so if you need a bit of a recap or you want to share it, watch out for that one. It'll include a link to our registration page. So if you haven't yet registered for the other sessions, please do so. And also it'll include a link to our recordings page as well. So if you missed any sessions, it's a good way to play catch up. So do watch out for that one. So this is the series of webinars we're running that support you with the Report Designer. So if you want to sort of earn the digital badge, you will need to attend any 5 of the 7 sessions we are running, plus one of the quiz sessions. As I say, we're running it this month plus next month, so repeating all the sessions next month. So plenty of chances for you to attend them. So today we're on session 2, which is looking at using those design tools to personalize your invoices. As I say, we will pick up on invoices because that's where most people start. If you haven't yet registered, again, that link is included on your follow-up email. Right, okay, let's have a look at what we're covering in today's session. So it doesn't look much, the agenda for today's session. So I'm going to start with a brief introduction. And then really we're going to get stuck into a demonstration. So looking at the basics, opening a layout within the Report Designer, how you can go amending it and doing a save as. So the basics before you really start amending and personalizing it to suit your needs. We'll then get stuck into the design tools. So looking at sort of adding your logo, adding text, aligning information, maybe adding data fields, maybe using the drawing tools as well, such as the adding lines and boxes. That maybe that's what you want to do to form part of that design to make it look how you want. At the end, we'll explain more about the additional support. There's loads available online. We'll hang around and try and answer as many questions as we can. But as I say, do bear with us. We'll try and pick up as many as we can, but obviously quite a complex area. Now, before we get stuck in, what I want to do, I'm going to pop a quick poll on your screen. If you don't mind, do get involved. If I can find the poll button. There we go. So simple question, have you used Report Designer before? So some of you might be quite experienced on it. Here some of you are. Some of you might have gone into it and thought, ooh, looks a bit complicated. I'm not using that, and just closed out in a mad panic. And others, you've maybe not heard of it. So this will be the first time you really come in to start using the report designer. Now, for those of you that have, and I'll sort of set the stall out a little bit up front here, these are introductory sessions to the report designer. So some of you, it will consolidate your knowledge. Some of you will probably have knowledge probably a bit more advanced than what we're going to cover in some of these sessions, but they are very much introductory sessions to start getting you used to the report designer. For those of you that have never touched it before, obviously it'll hopefully rid of a few of the myths, and maybe encourage you to give it a go here and there as well. It's not as complicated as you might think it is. Obviously, a really powerful tool though. Right, I'll close that. I'll just quickly share the results with you as well so you can see that. So we've got about 63%, or about, let's say, 2/3 have used the report designer in some form before, and 37% of you haven't. So quite an interesting one to get away from the accounting side of the software, this one. Right, let's hide that. And as I say, we'll get stuck into the webinar itself. So let's start with a brief introduction first to the report designer. So report designer forms a big part of Sage 50. Obviously, there's loads of reports, there's loads of layouts, etc. in the software, and it's a very powerful tool. Enables you to maybe do simple amends like we're going to look at today. But you can also create your own layouts, which we don't really recommend because it can be quite complicated, as you'll see in some of the designs. Much easier to find what you're looking for and then make whatever amends you want. That's what we'd always encourage you to do. But you can use it to create and amend layouts and reports in your software. Now, the bit of advice, and I've just sort of alluded to that a little bit, is you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are loads of layouts available, loads of reports available. Find a layout or report that's close to what you want, and then you make amends to that. That's by far the easiest thing to do. You probably find you become unstuck somewhere along the lines if you do try and sort of design something from scratch. But be creative. It's up to you what you want to do. I always say, take inspiration from invoices you receive as well from your suppliers, or statements or remittances. What do you like about them? And remember, obviously, once you've done it, you don't need to do it all the time. Once you've designed your layout, it's there, and it just sits there in the background, and you use that when you generate your invoices. But you'll see that the 45 minutes that we've allocated to this webinar, it goes by very quick. So you can sort of spend quite a bit of time designing your own layouts and reports. Use our online resources as well. So there's loads in our help centre, sage.co.uk/help. So whether it's how to add a logo or something a lot more in depth, loads of resources available. Right, okay, let's get stuck into some demonstrations then. So I'll share my screen. We'll get started. Right, now, as I mentioned, the majority of our customers, when it comes to the report design and using it, you probably start with an invoice layout, which is what we're going to concentrate on today. So one of two things. One is maybe adding things like bank details to your invoices so that your customers can simply pay you online. You might want to include your terms. So include that on the invoices. But commonly, probably the starting point is, how do I go about adding my company logo? So I want to include that on my invoices. And that's the type of thing that we will be including in today's session. So that's the justification for starting with in the invoices area. As I say, what you learn, you can apply that to other reports and layouts within your software. So we're going to go into invoices and credits. Now, to get to the print area, which is what we're looking for, you must have at least one invoice entered. If you've not done invoicing yet and you've not got anything entered, you will need to enter one and save it. Just make sure you don't update it to your customer's account. So I've just got to highlight one. We'll pop into print at the top. Obviously, if I don't highlight anything, you will find it's grayed out, but if I highlight one, click print, it's going to take me into my layouts folder. Now, by default, it will highlight this favorites folder on the left. And by default, this is what you'll get. You've not added any favorites yet. So you click onto the layouts option on the left, and that will give you a list of layouts that you want to use, or you have available to you, I should say. So there's loads. So just to quickly run through and give you an idea of what is available to you. So some of them will say A4. Some of you, if you've used been using Sage for quite some time, you might even have ones that begin 11, say 11-inch, which were designed for letter size stationery. If you're just on a really up-to-date version, you probably find you've got the A4 layouts only. But there's loads on there. There's things that invoices that would include things like settlement discount information, designed, in this case, this one's designed for printing on plain paper, but you can print or email them. Some of them you might find do not have email settings attached to them, just in case of you updating that within the layout. There are some recorded webinars on that one. Some of them will include unit price with discount, some without discount. So again, it depends what you're after. So go through them, see what's there, find the one that's closest to what you need. Much easier to tweak it than it is to start from scratch. If you find a one that you want to use, just click on the star. It'll flag it as a favorite. And all that means is that when you first come into the print area, because it defaults to that favorites folder on the left, it'll be the one that's there. You don't have to go into layouts each time and then find the one that you're after, scrolling up and down that list. So we're going to highlight our layout, and then we're just going to click edit at the top of the screen. So that takes us, it opens the design of that specific layout within the report designer. Now, before we get stuck into adding a logo and moving things around and adding bits of text onto the layout, I'm going to cover some basics first of all. Now, by default, your layout or your report, if it's a default one in Sage, it will be flagged as essentially being read-only. So if you make any changes, you'll see that the save icon, it's grayed out, and on the file menu, you'll see that save is grayed out as well. So you would need to do a save as. Now, before we do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it slightly. I'm going to go to the report menu at the top and choose report properties. And in here, it's where I can change the name of the layout that I'm about to make changes to. So I'm just going to, I'll pop in today's date so we can identify it a little bit easier. So it's the 4th. I'll just put sept. Report description. I'll just put Michael's, so I'll spell my name today, that would help. Michael's invoice. Obviously you can give that whatever description you want. So I'm just going to OK that. Changes at the top as well. What I'll also do is I'm going to go to File, and then I'm going to do a Save As. So essentially I'm creating a copy. The software protects the defaults. It won't let you overwrite the default ones. Now in here, it's going to save it to the correct folder for me. Now it does save that centrally as well. So it does mean if you amend a layout or create a new one, it will save that centrally. So if you're on a network, that layout would then be available to your colleagues as well. So you don't need to do it on each particular PC. Obviously got a big long path in here. Don't worry if you delete that by mistake. It's still going to save it to the correct folder. So I'm just going to call this MC invoice, and I'll save it. Right, I'm just going to close out the report designer at this stage just so you can see what we've done. I'll unflag this one as a favorite, so I'll click on the star. We'll go back to the layouts folder itself. What I need to do is try and find that one that we're looking for. Now, because I've put them in name order by default, and because I use 04 sept as the name, that one's at the top of the list. And what I'm going to do is, just to save me coming into that layouts folder and having to select it each time, I'll just flag it as a favorite. So when I'm in favorites, it lists it. Now, once you have renamed it, if you need to change anything, or maybe you spot a typo, you can always right click on it at that point, and you've got the option there, change name and description. It will take you to the report properties box where I changed them earlier. So I'll put, say, 2025 on the end. Just okay that. Next time I come in, it should update that for me. So there we go. So that's sort of the basics. So essentially saving a copy and flagging it as a favorite. What we'll do now, though, we'll make some changes. So we're going to highlight it back into edit at the top. Again, it opens the report designer and it opens that specific layout. Now, what we're not doing today, I'm not going to go into all of the sections of a layout. Quickly run through some of them just to give you an idea of the structure. So design-wise, you've got what we term the invoice number header. So this section here is essentially what you would expect to be at the top of your invoice when you generate it. It's got things like position here for your company name and address, your customer's name and address, things like the invoice date, the invoice number. It's got some headings in there as well. If you then just scroll down, you'll see why I mentioned it could be quite complicated if you design your own. So this is what this specific layout would look like. Loads of information in there. So again, just to emphasize that point, find the one that you're after that's closest to what you want. And then start making amends. If we go down to the bottom, you've got what we term the invoice number footer section, which is essentially the bottom of the invoice. So it's where you'd expect to see the delivery address, the totals. Now what we're going to do, and again, where most people start, is we're going to make some changes up at the top of the invoice in this invoice number header section. Now, the first thing we're going to look at today is adding a logo. So quite easy to do this, and I suppose traditionally the top right is usually where people put their logo. But again, take some inspiration from invoices you receive. What do you like about those invoices, design-wise? Probably don't like the total at the bottom, but design-wise, what is it you like about that design? Do you like the logo in the middle? So it's a bit, I suppose, a bit more modern looking. Maybe it has the address underneath it, that type of thing, rather than maybe just a traditional style layout. Now, what I am going to do is I'm going to clear a little bit of space up the top here. I want more space up here in the top right-hand corner for my logo. Now, we've got some information here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag a box around that. We'll come back to selecting items a little bit later on, but then I'm going to highlight that, and I'm just going to drag it out the way for the time being. And I'll click off that to deselect it. So we got more of a space at the top here. To add a logo, we're going to use these toolbar options. So this is I suppose what you would call the basic toolbar. It's got the design tools on it. So the option to add text, draw a line, draw a box, add image logo, add data fields. So these are the options that we're going to be looking at in today's session. Now, if you don't have that toolbar displayed, what you can do is just find a sort of a blank part of the toolbar at the top, right click, and it's this one you need here, Toolbox Basic. So if yours looks like this, you can't see that, just right click, switch that Toolbox Basic on. You can, of course, go via the Toolbox menu as well, and you'll have the same options. So that's what we're going to be using in today's session. Right, so we'll click Add Image, Stroke Logo. So we just give it a click. Then move the mouse pointer to roughly where you want to insert that logo. Don't worry about the exact position, just roughly in the position where you want to do that. And then when you're ready, just click. This window will pop up, choose an image. Now there's three options there. I would always just recommend you leave it set to that first image. The first option, sorry. Browse my PC or network for an image. It's going to let you do that in a moment. And I want to store the image in the design of the report or the layout itself. There are other options, but it's always that first option that we'd probably advise that you select. So first option, leave that option ticked. So just OK that. It'll then bring up a window so we can start browsing for that logo. So where's it held? So mine's on my desktop. I've got a folder, if I can find it. Let's see if I can find out what I've called it. Logos, surprisingly. And then I've got a few different logos that I can choose from. Loads of different formats are supported as well. All of the main image sort of formats are supported. And we're just going to choose this one here, it's the Sage logo. So I'll select it, I'll click open, and that's it done. It inserts it, and it's really small at this stage. So it doesn't matter if you've got a massive logo. Obviously, most image files these days are quite big. So it inserts it really small so that you don't have to sort of zoom right out and then shrink it down. It'll just put it small so it fits on there, but you can resize it if you want to. Right, now if I was happy with that, I could just click off it and that's it done. But I want to resize it, I want to reposition it. So I click back onto it. When it's selected, it'll put these sort of dotted boxes around it. You'll get the buttons as well. And if I just point at the corner, I can hold the mouse button down and I can resize that. Now, quite often you will find it's a little bit of trial and error with things like sizing and positioning as well when it comes to designing your logos. So get it to roughly the right position. And again, if you're happy with that, you can just click off it. That's it done. Save your changes. What I'll do though, I'm going to reposition it. I want to move it. So I click onto it and I've got two options at that point. I can either drag it with the mouse into the right position. I'll come back to those blue lines that are appearing everywhere in a few minutes as well when we get onto the text options. But we can drag it, just drop it wherever you want. Obviously, it even goes over the top of others if you wanted to, but I'll put it back in the top right. If you can't quite get it in the right position, maybe your mouse is a bit too sensitive or maybe you're not too good with that mouse, with it selected, you can use your cursor keys on your keyboard just to almost like nudge it into position. So if you find when you're generating and you think, oh, it doesn't quite align how I want it to, you can do that. Again, do that as many times as you want. If you want to, a bit of trial and error, we want to resize it, you can do it, just select it, resize it, drag the boxes, and then again, you can drag or drop or use your cursor keys when it's selected just to reposition it. One thing to watch out for, you should find that your image is kept in proportion. So it shouldn't let you really skew it. Might do on older versions, but these days it shouldn't. It should keep in proportion, the width and the height of that logo. Right, we'll leave it at that for the time being. Now I'm going to save the changes. So just click the little save icon on the toolbar, or you can go via the file menu, save. And if I just close out at that point, and I'm just going to preview an invoice just to see what that looks like. So that's what it would sort of currently look like. So quick to add in a logo once you get going with that. And again, this might be if you're printing them out or maybe you're just looking at them and thinking, oh, that's not quite what I want. You can easily go back in, replace your image, move it, resize it, whatever you want at that point. Just in case of selecting it, edit at the top, and that's it done. Now, Jackie, you mentioned about having it as a watermark. We're going to come onto that one towards the end of the changes. So bear with me on that one. Watermark's one of those, people either love it or hate it. So we'll come on to that one a little bit later on if you want that in the background. Anyway, we'll leave the logo at that for the time being. We'll see we're quite happy with that size and the positioning. Any additional questions on adding things like logos? Keep them coming. See loads of questions coming through, so do bear with us as well. Right, next we're going to add some text. So it's the other, probably the second most common change. I want to change some titles. I want to add some text. Maybe you want to include your bank details. But you can see in this instance, if I just preview this particular invoice, I can use this little button at the bottom here. So I can see what it looks like. If I was to print this invoice or email it, I've got number 1 there. It's got a date in there. It's got some numbers. It doesn't tell me what these are. Now, if you were printing it, you might have titles on your pre-printed stationery. If you're printing on plain paper, well, it doesn't tell me what that is. And if I'm emailing it, it doesn't include any information there either. So what I want to do is I want to add some titles to the left-hand side of this information here, so we can outline what that information is. So back into designer mode. And I'm just going to add a bit of text to the left of each of these options, just to spell out exactly what that is. So we're going to click Add Text, just on the toolbar. Remember, if you don't have that toolbar displayed, just into Toolbox, and then you've got Add Text. So Add Text, and then again, we just click approximately where we want to insert that text. Again, don't worry about fonts or colors or positioning or size or anything like that. We can do that in a moment. So we'll get this box and I can start typing at that point. So I'll type invoice number. And when I'm done, I can just click off it. Now, if I make a typo, what I can do is I can just double click it, position the mouse in it, and then I can start amending that text. But we'll leave it as invoice number. Click off. Now I'm going to come back to alignment and styles, etc. in a few moments. Quick question from Jackie there. How do you add your logo to a remittance? Exactly the same, Jackie. You would get into the remittance area. When you go to print, select your layout, click edit at the top, and it's the same process. So when you click edit, it takes you into the report designer, and that goes for any other layouts as well, whether it's a statement, a remittance, a sales order, purchase order, whatever it is. Same for your reports as well, for that matter. Just a case of finding it, highlighting it, and clicking edit at the top. Right, we've got our invoice number in there then. So what we'll do is we'll quickly add some more in for the other options. Just call it invoice date. Click off it to deselect it. Do it again. Order number. Actually, we'll do order no just to keep it a little bit consistent. And then last one, we'll repeat that. We'll do account number. So we got some text in there now, and if we click the little preview option at the bottom, let's see what that looks like. So we got some text in there. It's not aligned and not formatted yet, but we can see the text that we've just popped in there. Give you an idea of what that looks like. Right, back into the designer mode using the little button on the toolbar at the bottom. And what we're going to do next is we're going to get them to, I'm going to change the format of them. I want them to look like these column headings, just so I've got a little bit of consistency. Although if you get a document or you look at one yourself, if the fonts are all over the place and the font sizes, it can be a little bit distracting. So I was to generate slides today for the webinar, and one bit of text is size 20 and the next is 15, then the next is size 24. You probably think, oh, it just looks like they can't be bothered. We want it to look a bit more consistent. So what I want it to do, I want these 4 bits of text to look in the same sort of format as these column headings. Now, if I click onto a column heading, we've got it at the top. It tells me it's title. So this is the style that's attached to this. And that style uses Tahoma, size 10, and it's bold. If I click on other options, again, it'll tell you what the style is that's attached. This time it's Tahoma 10, but it's not bold. So I want it to look like this. So rather than me go through and highlight this and say, right, I want Tahoma, size 10, I want it in bold, what I can do is I can apply the what we term the style from the drop down. So if I click onto invoice number, and then from the style drop down, I'm just going to select title, and it'll change that for me. So it should look the same. Now, because it's put it in bold and it's changed the font, etc., the box is a little bit too small now to display that. So the easiest way to display it all is either to click on the box and widen it manually, or if you just double click it, it'll automatically resize it. So this invoice number text is now in the same format as the column headings that we've got. Now, you don't have to do them individually. You can do them, a number of them at the same time. Now, I could just drag a box to make sure I've got them selected, or I could highlight one, hold down my Control key, and then click onto the other ones to select them. And then at the top, we can just select title. And as you can see, it puts them in the same format. For each one individually, obviously you can change it if you want to, so you can change alignment, whether you want it in italics, that type of thing. But if you do change it, so let's say I put this one in italics, what it's asking me here is, do you want to update the title style with the new font? Now, if I was to say sort of yes to all to that one, anything that's flagged as what you would term title, what it would do, it would apply that sort of italics across the board. I'm just going to cancel out of that. And what I'll do is I'll change that back to the title option. Just so, again, we've got that consistency. Now, what you will have noticed when I've changed some of them, again, the box isn't big enough to display all the text, so just double click it, remember? It'll resize that box for me. Right, so if we just, again, preview at the bottom, we can see what that looks like. What we're going to do next is we're going to have a look at alignment. So great having them there, they look right, but what we want them to do, look a bit better if they were just aligned sort of down this sort of section here. Right. Now, again, we've got a number of options here. We can click on the text and drag it around the screen. Now, this time you will see these blue lines appearing. And this is sort of an alignment guide. So you'll see as I move that down, there's a blue line appears above the box I've got selected that I'm dragging around at the moment, and it sort of goes across to this information, this variable here. So I know that's at the right height now. And you could do that for each of them. If you find it's a little bit too sensitive, what you can do is you can highlight what's at the right height. Highlight that one first. That's in the right position, height-wise. If I hold down the Control key, click onto the text invoice date. So I've got that one selected. And then if we go to Format, Alignment, and then we'll choose Top, you'll see it nudges that into position. So if you're unsure, again, just highlight the one that's at the right sort of position first of all, hold down the Control key, click on the other one, Report at the top, Format at the top, alignment, and then top. Just nudges it into position. So you don't need to do it by eye. Again, I'll just repeat that. So again, format, alignment, and then top. So they're now all at the right height. What we'll do now is we'll just align them beneath each other. So I just nudge that one to roughly where I want it to be. So we'll see that's right. I'll then, if I wanted to, I could just, again, I could drag that one across just to try and align it. Might do it by eye. But what you can also do is if I highlight that one, say it's at the right position, horizontal wise, click on that one, hold down the control key, click on the others, and then we'll do format, alignment, right. And it should just nudge it into position for us. Click off it, and that's nearly it done. The only one with this one, it's centered. So I'm just going to align the text to the right for that one. There we go. So these now should all be aligned beneath each other. Looks a lot smarter. Again, if I just click on that preview option at the bottom, you'll see what that looks like. So if we were to print on plain paper or email using this specific layout, it's now going to include that text in the header section at the top. Now again, with this as well, adding text, if we just go back to designer mode, you might think, well, the other common change, I want to include my bank details. Common to include that information at the bottom. So scroll down to the bottom. You might just include it in this space here. You might think, well, actually, I don't use delivery name and addresses. If you don't use the delivery name and address, just a case of clicking on it, press delete on your keyboard, it'll remove it. And that will free up a bit of space where you've got space to pop in things like your bank details at that point. Again, you'd probably just add that as text. So add text, click. Then pop in your details. Again, doesn't really matter about the formatting at this point. All right, we'll just say Lloyd's, because I can quickly type that one in. And then the final one. So things like that, you might include it for terms, that type of thing. Again, if you wanted to format it, you can do it in exactly the same as what we just did at the top. Click off it, that could be it done. Want to reposition it, again, I've just done that as one lump of text. Obviously, if you want to change it, you can do that as well. So you could put it as in individual components if you wanted, so you can position it a little bit better. So up to you what you want to do with that. Right, let's get back to the top then. Remember to save your changes. And if I was happy with that, we can just close out. And I'll go back to preview. And that's it done. Quick question came in from Hazel there. And it refers to sort of previewing your changes. So anyway, I'll come on to your question in a moment, Hazel. Bit of advice for you, that one. So we can see what that looks like, basically. Now, if we go back into edit the layout, if you've got hundreds, if not thousands of invoices already entered, when you click this option at the bottom, this preview option, what you'll see that mine does, and this will occur on yours as well, it will show you a preview for every single invoice that you've got on the invoicing page. So every invoice that you've entered so far. So you can see mine says page 1 of 95. If you've got thousands, when you click that preview button at the bottom, it may take a little while to load because it needs to preview it for all of your invoices. So if you are in that position rather than use this preview option, what we normally recommend is just that you save your changes, you close out of the report designer, and basically select the layout that you've been amending and then preview it. And that will then only do it for this one invoice. You might even select a couple just so you can see what that looks like. So if I select that, go into preview, it'll preview it for me, but as you can see, I've just got essentially the two that I've selected. So that's just something to be aware of. I'm assuming that's catching you out, Hazel, when you've been doing that. So save your changes, close out, preview in that way. Right, okay. Let's get back into the design side. So we looked at adding your logo, changing text. Next, we're going to look at data fields. Now, data fields, we've got a separate webinar on this one where we look at them in a bit more detail. So there may be occasions where you want to include additional information, and these are what you would term data fields, where it's pulling information through from either the invoice that you've entered, your company name and address, maybe your customer's name and address. So let's say I want to add additional information, such as my telephone number. Now, I could just enter that as text. It's pretty static, that. It's not going to change. But I could also add it as a data field. So if I click Add Data Field, click approximately where I want to insert that information, you'll get this Add Data Fields. Now, data fields are grouped into what we term tables, or what used to be termed groups as well. So we are covering that in the next session in a bit more detail. So the information I'm after is in what we would term the company group or the company table. If I expand that, it'll show you all of your company information that essentially you could potentially pull through. And what I'm after is the one called telephone number. Now I could just press T to jump down to that section, or just scroll down. As you can see, there's loads of information there that potentially I could include, but it's the telephone number I'm after. So I just select it, click OK. So basically, if I was to generate my invoice, if I've got a telephone number entered in my company preferences area, it would pull it through into that section. I would encourage you, have a good look at your invoices. Is there any information that you assume is included, but maybe isn't? So telephone numbers, email addresses, websites, it's basically contact details. Is it missing? Maybe compare your invoices that you generated to one of your colleagues, to the supplier invoice that you've received. Now, if you were happy with that, you could just click off it and that's it done. But again, you've got the same options. You can drag it round, you can position it. You might want to put a little bit of text in front of it. So I'll just click Add Text, click onto the invoice layout, and I'll just put Tell No. And again, drag that into position. I'll just do a by eye this time. So again, up to you, but have a good look through. Is there any information missing? You sometimes see this for people who want to put things like maybe additional services or new product ranges. So almost like a little bit of a marketing message. Again, depends on what you want to include on your invoice. So the tables and variables, we will be covering that one in session number 3. So we'll be covering that next week on Tuesday at 11. Excuse me. Right, last two options we're going to quickly cover are the drawing tools. So options to draw lines, draw boxes. So again, use your artistic flair here. What do you want it to look like? Now what I might want to do is just beneath my column headings here, I might want to put a line across this, just to sort of divide it up a little bit, give it a bit more structure. So we'll click Draw Line, move the mouse to where you want to start that line, just hold the mouse button down, drag that line to where you want it to be, and then release. If I'm happy with that, we could just move it into position. So if I click off it, could just leave it there. But if I click back on it, you'll see it highlights it. I can drag it. See if I can get hold of it. There we go. Drag it into position. Or again, if you find it's a little bit too sensitive, just use your cursor keys just to nudge it into position. If I'm happy with that, click off it. That's it done. Again, if I just preview it, it'll give you an idea what that's going to look like. So you've got that line there. You can change colors, thickness, positioning, even the angle if you wanted to. Right, so lines, you can play around with that one. If you want to change things like colors or the style of the line, anything like that, if you just click onto it, so you've got the buttons at either side, and then you've got an option. Let's see if I can find it. Properties. It'll display this on the right-hand side. So on here, we can choose the line style. We can click on the little button here, and that will give us the options for things like changing the color, etc. if you wanted to. The width of that, the style of the line, that type of thing. So again, you can play around with that and find exactly what you want. Just to re-emphasize that one, you may find it that properties option is pinned to the side. If it is, just select what you're after. So it's the line I'm after, puts a dot at either end, into properties, and then you can see the kind of changes you can make. Boxes, very similar. If I click on the draw box option, let's say we would move the mouse, just hold down the mouse, draw the box, just dragging it to the size we want. If I'm happy with that, just click off it. You might put one around the address information if you wanted to. Again, it's up to you what you want that to look like. If you wanted to change the style of that, again, highlight it, into properties, and you've got things like the border style. Again, we can change the style, the color, the width of that. You've also got things like the background. So it's transparent at the moment. I wanted to go a bit off grid a little bit. We'll choose a nice misty rose this morning. So you can make whatever changes you want at that point. So it's up to you what you want to do with it. You can experiment to your heart's content, get creative with it as well. Right, final area I wanted to quickly cover, two things. Apologies for the slight overrun. One is I just wanted to go back to someone mentioned about having a watermark type option earlier. If you, rather than your logo at the top, you might, well, in fact, you might want that there plus the watermark, or you might want to go watermark only. If you want a watermark effect on your document, then it's just File, and then down to Watermark. Now you could have it as text. So let's say I wanted this to be, say, invoice. You get that sort of effect. You could have it as diagonal. You can change the transparency as well. And again, up to you what you want that to look like. Change the font, the colors, the size. You might even want to go down the image route, which I think was what the question related to earlier. For browse for that Sage logo again that we inserted as our company logo, you'll get this type of effect. You might even go something like that. So again, experiment with that. But just leave it on there, just okay. I'll preview it so it can give you an idea what that would look like. Maybe it's a bit too green, that one. So we'll give you that sort of effect. So you can have it diagonally or just as a standard sort of horizontal option. Let's close out of that, back to the designer mode. So again, that was just file and then watermark. I'm sure some of you will come up with weird and wonderful designs, but have a go, have a bit of an experiment with that. Now, the final thing to advise you on, once you've saved your changes, so file, save, I'm going to close out the report designer. Final thing to quickly mention is you've invested all that time in getting your layouts how you want it to look. Back them up. If you make similar changes to your reports, back them up. Take a layouts only backup or a reports only backup. Easy to do. So file, into backup. Choose the options. Now, what I would say is if it's your likes of your invoice layouts, back them up separately. Just do layouts, layout templates only. Tick that box. I'm going to call it Sage Layouts. I'll just back up to my desktop. I'll just OK that. I will get a warning saying you've not included any data files as part of that backup. That's absolutely fine. I do want to continue, so yes to that. It'll back them up. Tells me it's been successful. I just OK that. And the idea of doing that is, let's say I'm in invoicing and I'm in print, and I see that layout and I think, oh, I'd want to knock it off as a favorite, or accidentally what I do is I delete it. So it's gone. All that time I invested getting it right. Essentially, I've just deleted that file, that layout. Now, I don't want to have to start again and invest all that time making it look the same. So what I can do is, if I am in that position, I could go to File, Restore, browse for my layouts only backup, which I popped on the desktop. There it is. Select it. OK that. Tells me I'm about to restore data, but I know in this instance it is layouts only. So yes, I do want to continue. Tells me it's been successful. Let me just log in again. Obviously, remember your logon details are included as part of that backup. So we'll just let that restore. That's me back in. When we go back to invoices and credits, back into print, my layout's back in there. So cover your back. Take that layout only backup. If you amend reports or create reports yourself, do a reports only backup as well. Do that separately. Hope that makes sense. Right, so it brings us to the end of this morning's webinar. So I hope you've enjoyed that. It's given you some food for thought. It's not as scary as you maybe thought it was for those of you that have never touched Report Designer before. So give it a go. Easy enough to add your logo, add a bit of text. Remember, you're doing that save as, so the standard layouts, they're protected. You can't do anything wrong. Now, if you all want to find out more, loads of resources available for you. There's our help center. You've got a reports and layout section. It will guide you through things like adding a logo, adding text, adding the data field, drawing lines and boxes. So a bit like what we've covered in the session today. If you've got any final questions, pop them in there now. We're going to hang around just for a couple more minutes. I think we're just about on top of the questions. If we didn't get a chance to answer yours, don't worry, we'll try and get back to you later today. If anyone wants the handout, if you haven't downloaded it yet, it will be included. A link to it will be included on the follow-up email, which you will receive in round about an hour's time. Loads of webinars. This link is included on your follow-up email. So do get yourself registered for some of the other sessions. Again, we'll be going into a bit more of the, I suppose, the capability of Report Designer. So looking at things like tables and variables. We'll be looking at filters and criteria and sections and groups. So get yourself signed up for that and learn more about what the report designer is capable of. And finally, thank you for coming along. Hope you have enjoyed it. Something a little bit different when you get into the report designer, getting away from your debits and credits and your reconciliations and VAT returns and things like that. So many thanks for coming along. If you can take a minute to complete the survey as you leave, that'd be really appreciated. Let us know your thoughts, your comments. If you've got any ideas you'd like to share with us, pop it on there. Remember that follow-up email will be with you in around about an hour's time. Right, we'll end the webinar just at that point. So once again, many thanks for coming along. Do take that minute to complete the survey. It'll pop up as you leave today. Let us know your thoughts, and hopefully we'll see you on some of the other webinars very soon. Many thanks.